Meet Brian Griffin, the only character in Family Guy who looks like a pet, acts like a philosopher, and drinks like a divorce attorney. He's a walking contradiction, a cultured, liberal intellectual trapped inside the body of a talking Labrador. In theory, he's the family's voice of reason. In practice, he's a fur-covered midlife crisis. Brian wants to be respected, admired, maybe even loved. But let's be honest, he's a dog living with the Griffins. The bar is underground. Every conversation with Peter drops his IQ by at least 10 points. Every encounter with Stewie ends in an existential debate or mild violence. And every romantic attempt ends the same way: heartbreak and self-pity, preferably with a glass of Chardonnay. He's basically the poster child for self-awareness gone wrong. The tragedy of Brian isn't that he's too dumb for his world. It's that he's the only one smart enough to realize how dumb everyone else is. Imagine waking up every day knowing you're surrounded by idiots and you're one of them. Welcome to Brian Griffin's life, where the only thing worse than being a dog is being a dog who knows he's a joke. Brian Griffin isn't just a dog. He's a wannabe human, which, if you think about it, is the saddest thing a dog could ever be. He reads The New Yorker, writes novels no one finishes, and thinks being a liberal atheist in Rhode Island makes him profound. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. It just makes him the only creature in Quahog who's both domesticated and pretentious. Brian spends most of his time chasing validation from a world that only sees him as a talking pet. He wants depth, meaning romance. And yet, he's stuck fetching Peter's beer like it's 2001 all over again. In a way, Brian's existence is the ultimate cosmic prank. He's self-aware in a show that punishes self-awareness. Every time he tries to be serious, the universe hands him a slapstick gag and a bottle of gin. He's like if Socrates were neutered and forced to live in a sitcom. He's not man enough to be taken seriously, not dog enough to be loved unconditionally, just Brian enough to be miserable. Which brings us to the real tragedy. Intelligence in Quahog isn't a gift, it's a curse with fur. Here's the thing about being cultured in Quahog. It's like being the only vegan at a barbecue. Brian Griffin is the self-proclaimed intellectual of the family, but that's like being the tallest hobbit. Sure, he reads, he writes, he debates morality, but it doesn't matter when everyone around him communicates exclusively through fart jokes and chicken fights. Brian's tragedy is that he's constantly searching for validation in a world that doesn't know what validation means. He writes books no one reads, gives advice no one follows, and flirts with women who only remember he's a dog at the worst possible moment. It's Shakespearean, really. If Shakespeare had a hangover and wrote in between dog walks, every episode, Brian tries to climb out of the pit of mediocrity, only to slip right back down, dragged by his own ego. He wants to be human, but he's addicted to being morally superior. It's his favorite drug, right after cheap white wine. In the end, Brian isn't just suffering because he's self-aware. He's suffering because he cares. And in Family Guy, caring is the fastest route to humiliation. Quahog, Rhode Island, the town that looks like any other, except everyone in it should probably be in therapy. For Brian Griffin, it's not home. It's purgatory with picket fences. Every single day, Brian wakes up surrounded by people who make him question evolution. His best friend is a homicidal baby with British diction. His owner is a man whose hobbies include stupidity, violence, and casual nudity. And his love interest? Usually someone who forgets he's a dog midway through dinner. It's not just chaos. It's psychological warfare disguised as family life. Brian's forced to play therapist, chauffeur, drinking buddy, and emotional sponge in a house that doesn't believe in empathy. He's the only one with real emotions, and that's his biggest mistake. He lives in constant emotional danger, not from villains, but from apathy. There's no safe space in Quahog. Even the family baby might kill you between diaper changes. So yeah, Brian's world isn't funny because it's absurd. It's funny because it's too familiar, just with more fur and fewer boundaries. If you ever think your life is bad, remember this. Brian Griffin literally died once, and the writers brought him back because the audience missed the dog more than they ever loved him. Imagine dying dramatically only to be resurrected by bad fan feedback. Jesus had a purpose. Brian had ratings. His existence isn't guided by fate. It's dictated by the whims of bored sitcom writers who use him as a vessel for whatever social issue they half remember from Twitter that week. One week he's the voice of reason. The next, he's a drunk hypocrite, spouting pseudo-intellectual nonsense. There's no consistency, just chaos wearing a collar. In a universe built on gags and cutaways, Brian is the only one who notices the cracks. He's self-aware enough to understand the absurdity, but powerless to escape it. He's not breaking the fourth wall. The wall's been crushing him for years. Every time he gets close to redemption, the writers yank it away for a cheap laugh. It's almost poetic. A character trapped in a loop of humiliation, knowing full well he deserves better. But that's the thing about being Brian Griffin. Even your creators think you're the punchline. In the end, Brian Griffin isn't just a dog. He's us, a mirror held up to a generation that thinks too much, drinks too often, and still can't find meaning in any of it. He's the intellectual who quotes Orwell on social media but forgets to recycle. The romantic who dreams of love but ghosts people after 2 texts. The modern soul, eloquent, exhausted, and perpetually disappointed. He represents the curse of awareness in a world that rewards stupidity. He knows too much to be happy, yet not enough to change anything. That's the cruel joke of existence, and Family Guy turns that into comedy. Brian isn't funny despite his suffering. He's funny because it's familiar. His misery is the audience's therapy. We laugh at his failures because they make ours seem survivable. He drinks, he rants, he crumbles, and somehow it's comforting. A talking dog who feels more human than the humans around him. Maybe that's the point. So here's to Brian Griffin, the dog who read too much, loved too hard, and thought he was better than the joke, only to realize he was the joke all along. Why it sucks to be Brian Griffin, because knowing you're in a sitcom doesn't make it less of one.